Alright, welcome back everybody. In keeping with the door theme, I'm going to go ahead and start taking apart the internals, getting them all cleaned up, getting them all put back together to get the window crank and the door lock and the door pushes and all that kind of stuff back together. So stick around and we'll show you how all that stuff works. Thanks for watching. Something I haven't dug into for a while is my door stuff. So this is the window where the door window goes in. Sits in this slot here, and then you got the window crank over here. Got that guy, and then all the that here. This guy here is for opening the door. That runs across the door. So I'll show you here how this works. Alright, so take for example that this is your window mechanism, and this is probably the passenger side door, I'm thinking. So you'd have your window crank down here, and essentially all you would do is obviously crank the window, and you can kind of see, now this would be bolted in and stationary. If I hold that stationary, you can see this crank starts to go, and you can see how that cause that gear to turn and cause the window to come up. That's all me turning, and then as I lower the window, that would come back down. Just got to clean this stuff up. Unfortunately, with a lot of this, it's all riveted together. Very little of it is actually bolted together. Most of the bolts are to get bolted to the door, not bolted it together. So you got to kind of, it's a little bit of a pain in the rear to clean because you can't disassemble it and clean everything. These parts here, these are the side rails that support on the inside of the door, top and bottom, but they would mount vertically front to back. And that essentially holds the channel for the inside of the door. Or excuse me, the channel for the inside of the window. It looks like some of this is disassemblable. So I've got these little clips here, 2 of those. They're sprung. If I undo those, it looks like this top portion will come off. So I'm not real sure how that comes apart, but we're going to clean it up and find out. And it looks like just a simple spring clip there. Just pries off. Yeah. That just comes right off there, not a whole lot to that. And then there's a little washer. Rubber washer, that looks like it's shot. Gonna probably want to replace that. That's that one. I guess there is no spring, it's just the metal itself that's sprung. Yeah, that's all there is to that. There's a little rubber piece in there too. Alright, so you're left with this big long piece here, which is where the glass fits in, and that'll essentially go into the bottom of the door. As I mentioned when I was working on the door internals, these are the doors for the black car, and that was a Mark I, so it's got the older style latch releases, which are just awesome. But I'm going to go ahead and strip out the inside, the guts of these. I'll probably frankly try to sell these releases. The doors are constructed differently, so you can't really interchange the Mark I and the Mark II doors. I'll show you that. Got the door here for the black car. I told you there were some differences, and really the only one that I'm aware of is the capture mechanism here and then the door handle itself. So this was before the anti-burst mechanisms came on, and it was just frankly a cheesy door latch. Didn't really do a whole lot except keep the door shut. Not very safe. But this is the original handles and the window cranks, and these are actually reusable, so I'm going to go ahead and take these off, save me from having to buy some new ones, and they're in pretty good shape. So these are a little tricky because if you can see here, there's a spring here. A lot of people will leave these springs out, but you press down on the spring, and then underneath, right in here, there's a little pin. So I'm going to go ahead and knock that out, and then I'll give you a close-up so you can see it. Yep. Was able to just push it through. So you can see there's the little pin there and I just have the little punch in there. Take the pin out. It's got a slight little bevel to it at the end there, so there is should only really go in one way. Save that guy. I'll pull the thing out here, the punch, and get the door handle off. So there's that spring, and it's pretty, it's pretty beefy. Door handle, not perfect by any means, but a lot better than the ones that Dorothy had. And I want to say the door handles go like this, or is it like this? Anyway, now I don't remember, but they're not. A lot of people put them in the wrong way because they don't. It's not. It seems a little counterintuitive. But if you look, you can watch this little guy right here. I pull down, and that's going to open the door. So that works the same way as far as I know. There's no difference between this and the Mark IIs, though this portion might be a little bit different. So now the window cranks. This one actually works. I don't have any glass in it, and that spring here will compress and uncompress as it goes through. So again, we'll get the pin out. Now these little black escutcheon probably could deal with some replacement, but hey, that's still got the original plastic on the back. That's pretty cool. And again, the spring. So now we got several bolts here to go ahead and come through so we can start taking the internals out. Alright, so these three here are what do that release. This here is an adjustment. It's a bumper essentially for the bottom of the window to come down. Pull that out and show you, but it's slotted so it's adjustable vertically. Here, that drops right in. So there's that guy, it's got his little pad on it so that it catches the bottom of the window so you don't go slamming the bottom of the window in. So if you can imagine, I've got the frame that I took out, and this is kind of how it would sit when the window's rolled all the way up. So this portion right up here would be where the very long window holder goes in, which would be this guy. I don't know if this is the driver's side or the passenger side one, but that would fit in there, and that, if you remember, clips in to these slide rails. So that's what that looks like, but underneath. So when you crank the window, this piece is stationary, and then this connected to the gear comes down or comes up as you crank it. Alright, you can see here there's a little bit of adjustment there. There's a little bit of a slotted spot, but up here there's not. Alright, so now there's this piece, and let's see. Yeah, so it looks just slightly different. So if you take a look here, the lengths are just a tad bit different, and then the Dorothy with the burst plate has this little spring thing on it, and then this one's crooked a little bit more. So these would not be interchangeable, obviously, as long as I remember which is which. The piece that holds the window is on slides. It's got plastic slides in it. Those are inside these channels right now. That's why I can't get the rest of the thing out without pulling this apart. So much fun this is going to be getting back together. Alright, so I got that one out. And if you'll note there, that's got a pretty heavy flat washer, which I do have on this one here. And I can't remember if that goes on the top and the bottom, but it's available. One thing of note here is an interesting thing. These, you can see, these were made adjustable. The Mark IIs weren't. At least there's that one side. Huh. Wonder if that'll matter. That heavy washer goes in the bottom. And it goes, this heavy washer here goes in the bottom. And it also goes in between the door and the other flat washer. So the door skin is getting pinched in between the real heavy one and the thin one. And also, this one here does not have a slidable, adjustable nut. None of my original Mark II ones have an adjustable nut, so that's interesting. I'm going to snap a picture real quick just for knowing how to put it back together. And then the big old door mechanism should come out here, and I think it comes out this hole. Ooh, that's broken. Alright, so there's that guy. That's the whole mechanism. Now these legs here, these are snapped. Dorothy's are not. I'll show you Dorothy's. So those are Dorothy's. And obviously, I think you can see why the Mark I's are snapped, the black cars, because that metal reinforcement obviously happened later on. So this is about car number 29,000 or so, and Dorothy's about 70,000 or so. So somewhere in the interceding 50,000 commission numbers, they decided that these needed to be reinforced. That's pretty cool. I love finding stuff like that. But the rest of the mechanism looks to be in good shape. There's a little bit of a bend here too, but in a different spot than the other one was. So you know, whatever that means. This flat screw right here, and there's a bolt underneath. That's going to get the door handle out, so I'm going to pull that out. All right, so a little screw with a star washer and a flat washer. No, there's a big old nut on the inside. All right, there it is, lockable. Not in too bad a shape either. Definitely needs some cleaning up. There's a lock washer, big old lock washer, and that big old nut that I was talking about. That's there. And then that guy fits up here, and that's where that goes. All right, just like that. Yeah, it looks like we got a little bit more in here. There's a rubber seal that's still pliable. Another washer. Alright, well that's functional. I don't have a key. But if you're in the market for a Mark I outer door thing, I got your back, I guess. I also have the latch mechanisms, but it's not in very good shape. One of the coolest things I found when I got this car, it's upside down here, but this is a brass plate from the SCCA. It says Thompson Regional Races 1965. So I can only imagine that this was put on the car in 1965, and this was a 65 car, so the guy raced it from new or close to it. I had mentioned on the Mark II doors they put a leather or a vinyl strip up here on this this piece, so that's why this is a Mark I car, wouldn't have that. So this is definitely not original to the car, obviously, but original. So I'm going to take a heat gun and try to get the adhesive off of there and get that saved. Alright, there it is. Pretty cool. I'll have to try to clean that up and not clean it up so much that I take the patina off of it. There's dirt or something. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. That's pretty cool. Got the window mechanism here. This is for the passenger side. These are leather washers, and they go in between on the slides on this thing, and then it's got those little silver clips. I did get several silver clips. I got these from Moss, a couple bucks, not too bad. So going to go ahead and put this together the way that it sits. So a leather washer, you need 8 total, 4 per window, or 4 per door, I guess you could say. They go on both sides of the slides. So I'm going to put one in here, put that through, put the other one on, and then clip it in. So we'll do this guy here. This guy down here. Flip it over. And then we got that crossbar. Other 2 pieces of leather washer. Crossbar. And then the little clips. Now the way that it situates itself in the door with the window up would be kind of like that, so the window's kind of in the up position now. And then as you turn this, like I showed you, that'll bring that up and down. And then this piece here, that's also anchored in the door. Rails will go on the other side. That bolts to the door. Unfortunately, because my doors are not ready yet, I can't really do anything with them as far as me getting this thing together. Alright, the way the picture has it, the spring goes around and comes down and loops up into the catch here, and it's not hard to do. You don't have to put tension on the spring. You just rotate this around and line that slot up so that you can put that in there at the time. So that guy's good to go. I do have to clean up the bottoms here. You can see that they're just kind of, the felt is just kind of, I guess that's some sort of split rivet or whatever. But I do have to clean that up, get that ready to go. But otherwise, the only other thing really is the door unlock mechanism, opening mechanism, which is this guy, and the workshop manual thankfully has a nice breakdown on how all that stuff goes together and everything with the Mark II, with the burst plates and all. So when I get to that point, I'll be looking at that. You may recognize this strip of felt here. This is all solid felt. This is what I used to go underneath the gas tank. I cut it in strips. This is that windscreen, or the door window. This is where the door window would come down and land. So this goes in the very bottom of the door, and when you roll the window down, this whole, get it together here, this whole piece would come down, and this little tab here will sit right like that, and it just provides a softer landing zone for the window. Well, this piece of felt here is pretty stiff. There's not a whole lot of resiliency left in it. So what I'm going to try to do is repurpose this, since I'm done using it, and form it into that. Now, this is obviously much thicker than the original felt, so I don't want to go too thick because there is some adjustability on this in the door, but I don't know how much, and I don't want the window to stick up a little bit. So I'm going to cut it both long ways to strip it out, and I'm also going to try to cut it in half. Stuff actually cuts pretty easy with a razor knife, so we'll see. First thing first, I'll get this piece off. Hopefully that's not too hard to do. Now, I don't even know if these are available or not. I never did look. They very well may be. But if you can see here, all they are is just little tabs, little pins with split tabs or whatever the proper, like rivets almost. I don't know what they're called properly. So just taking a flat head here and bending them up. These rivets are probably not going to hold on. Alright, so that comes right out. Get the rivet out. Alright, so there's the piece of felt. Sorry about that. There's the piece of felt and the little rivets. So now all I'm going to do is trace out this piece of felt, make a couple of them, and see if I can get the holes put in there so I can put the rivets back through. I don't suspect these rivets are going to last another bending. I'm sure I'll be able to find them somewhere at Ace or True Value or something, but we'll see if I can get this to at least proof of concept. So you can see I overcut there a little bit. This it's got a mold across the piece a little bit, so I wanted to make sure that I gave enough room for the rivets to fit through, which it looks like I did. So now I'm going to go ahead, cut it in half long ways here just to make it a little bit thinner. So that looks pretty good like that. Now we'll go ahead, I'm going to try to drill holes. I'm not sure if it's going to work, but I got to mark it, and then we'll see if I get lucky with that. Alright, appears to have worked. Alright, just trying to dress up the rivets a little bit. Through the holes that I drilled. See them sticking out there? Alright, and then all I would have to do is bend those tabs over, and it looks like it's going to work just fine. And you can see that this is all torn up and rusty and all that kind of stuff, so I'm going to probably put this in the sandblaster. Believe it or not, these all of these windshield mechanism things, or not windshield, but door windows, seems to be galvanized. I want to say that this is the first galvanized stuff that I've recognized on the car. Obviously, it's not perfect because it's been rusting, but I'll clean these pieces up here at some point and get them spray painted in epoxy, or at least Rust-Oleum or something, just to keep them from rusting again. But that's a proof of concept that works. So gotta love that. Continuing on with the door internals. This is those pads that I was mentioning that just kind of sit in there and brace the window when it rolls down with the new felt. I painted it obviously not too well. I didn't really care all that much. The primer was more important than anything. I was able to reuse the rivets, the split rivets or whatever they're properly called. So I got that in there, and it should work just fine. So it just uses little itty bitty screws, and they go way down here. And as the window rolls up and down, that would come down and to rest on that spot just to provide a landing spot.